This morning I'm heading over to Cuba Mesa. I'll probably get there right around noon or so, and I'll ride till about 5 or 6 o'clock this afternoon. The ATV is on the trailer, he's going for a ride, and I want to record the ride over there. So, see you in a bit. I'm in an area here that has some sign of cattle. In the background you can see the cliff, and there is logs that were set up for keeping cattle in there. And I found this place a couple of years ago, and I've never really gotten into the surrounding area to see if I could find any dump sites. And today I decided to come up and give it a try. I've already been in the area. You can see all of the scrub, sagebrush, and trees behind me. I normally ride my ATV in the sage, and I go up and down and I look for things that are worth taking home, you know. But today I found several things. I want to show them to you. But before I do that, I want to talk to you a little bit about what my preparation for this trip was. I travel a lot of times. I'm alone, so I kind of take care of myself in ways that I don't get myself hurt. I don't go into places that are too extraneous, and if I get in, I can get out of there. And I also carry a walking stick. And this thing here is one of those alpine walking sticks. I got it at Costco, and it had a package of 2 in it. And I got that package, and my wife uses one for when she walks for dogs. And I use them for... There's nothing worse than coming up on a rattlesnake asleep under a brush. So I use my walking stick when I'm walking in the brush, in the sage, to warn them that I'm there, and that could save you from a real catastrophe. A snake bite out in the middle of nowhere, and you being alone is very dangerous. Don't do that. If you're with somebody else, still take care of yourself and make sure that you're taking care of the dangerous things. You know, don't get brave on it, and don't get stupid with it either. This is rattlesnake country, and believe me, I've seen a lot of rattlesnakes out here, and you do not want to run into a rattlesnake and get yourself in a situation where you're stuck until somebody comes and finds you. Don't ever do that. Don't ever let yourself be in a position like that. Here, I'm going to turn you and show you the cave. Actually, they're just rocks. They're not caves, but they have their petroglyph carving technique of their brands, and I'll show those in photos. I took photos of them, but they have notched out in the rock for beams, and all the timbers are rotted and they're down on the ground there. I don't know when they were here, when they lived here. It's probably in the 30s, 40s, maybe even 50s. I don't suppose it would go back any further than that. But by the signs of the bottles, usually when you're finding old bottles, you can tell their age by their discoloration, and I'm really not sure on the cause of it. It's just that the technology has increased to the point to where the discoloration with the glass is stabilized, and they don't change color with oxidation in the sun. The very first thing I found was, this looks like an old vinegar bottle. And there's really no way of dating them that I can see. You find these all over the place, but this is out in the middle of nowhere. And I use these. A little story. My wife, I have a studio and I do artwork. I do a lot of petroglyph, rock art, and that kind of art. And my wife says, you need puppies or flowers or arrangements or something. And I don't know what that is. I don't know how to do that. So what I've been doing is collecting these whiskey bottles. So I took one of my whiskey bottles and I put it on a piece of old fence slat, weathered fence, and I put a nail in it and I hung it on the patio and put dried flowers in it, and it was an old vodka bottle. And so I've been doing that ever since. I see these bottles and I bring them home and I make my manly flower arrangement art. I've got a whiskey bottle here. These are not old. They're probably really not worth anything, but they sure are neat for my art. I found a Vicks mentholatum jar. It's in really good condition. It's not an antique and not a collector or anything, but I found it out here and I'm going to use it in my flower arrangement. I got the whiskey bottle, and I found several of these whiskey bottles out here, but this is the only one that I found intact. People have been out in this area, coming around here, and what they do is they find bottles and they shoot them. They break them. But every once in a while, you'll find one. So that works real good. I've been out here all day. I walked this whole area here. I'll give you another pan of the sagebrush. Like I said, normally I'll ride through it, but in this area here, the sage is pretty tall, so it makes it a little hard to walk or to ride the ATV in it. But this is what the terrain looks like. I'm in Cuba, New Mexico. My family is from Cuba, New Mexico. My mother's maiden name was Wiggins, but her mother's maiden name was Velarde, and Velardes are prominent in Cuba, and I'm related in that way. So when I spend time out here, I'm spending time with the descendants of my family in spirit. We've gone on and moved on, and we're not even really in touch with them, which is a shame. But we should resolve that. But I love being up here because we have a lot of spiritual ties here. But anyway, I just wanted to let you know that I was riding out in this area, and I wanted to share what I found with you. My son Robert, he's starting an adventure YouTube called Yoro, and I'm going to be with him when he launches that, and we're going to encourage adventure groups to work with us, and I'd like to get more of that information to you. But I've always been interested in Bigfoot, Sasquatch, fly fishing, horse riding, hunting, hiking, you name it. And my Sasquatch studies pulled up a cowboy recorded a sighting of a Sasquatch in the 1840s, I believe. And it was in Oregon and Washington border area, in that area. And this cowboy come up to a group of friendly Indians up there, and they invited him into camp. And the camp was in the mouth of a giant cave. It was not a cave as in caverns, it was just a giant opening, and they were inside there, being protected from the elements. It was later in the afternoon, it wasn't dark, but there was a fire going. And the Indian that brought him in told him that a small moon came from the sky and left 3 crazy bears. And there was one sitting at the fire. It was a Sasquatch, and he describes him in detail. And he was sitting around the fire with the Indians, and they had no way of talking to him or anything, but they were friendly with him. And that was his recording, that the small moon had come to the earth
come from the sky and left 3 crazy bears. Well, my road name now is Crazy Bear, and that's where it comes from. So when I ride my ATV, that's my handle. That's who I am, is Crazy Bear, and that's where it came from. So I just wanted to clarify that and share my adventure with you, and hopefully I'll get this posted soon, and hopefully we'll be able to be in more contact with people like you guys who are interested in this kind of adventures, and maybe we could work with you and provide an avenue so that you could post and post your adventures. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to sign off for now. I'm got a couple more places I want to go see before the day is over. So happy adventures.